Hey guys, got some breaking war news here as we have an urgent warning over on Hal Turner Radio Show. Poland has moved main battle tanks to the Kaliningrad border, right here, which is an enclave of Russia. So if they make any moves inside of Kaliningrad, then that would be tantamount to declaring war on Russia itself. And Russia would obviously have to respond, and would respond, I'm sure, as they're threatening to do, as we talked about earlier today, to the UK. Well, don't think they're going to take this very lightly. All these main battle tanks moving into position. So here we go. In the startling development, the country of Poland has deployed 28 K2 Black Panther main battle tanks to its border with the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. Simultaneously, NATO air surveillance operations against Russia are taking place in Lithuania. Those main battle tanks were only received from South Korea 2 days ago. Yep, there's confirmation of that story here. Poland deploys 28 K2 Black Panther tanks near Russia as it hardens eastern defenses. So there's several different sources that are verifying what Hal is saying here. So this is a tremendous and dangerous escalation in tensions between NATO and Russia. Early this morning, Viktor Lukashenko, the leader of Belarus, flew without prior public announcement to Moscow for meetings. If open war breaks out between Russia and NATO, Belarus will side with Russia and will be a key to defending against NATO attack. Today, Russia began striking Kiev with numerous high explosive missiles. This has sent the civilian population into a panic. This video below shows that tens of thousands of civilians are now leaving Kiev with massive traffic jams all over the city. Yep. Now appearing to be going one way, out. Wow. Yep, things are definitely escalating. So, according to Hal, Russia has allegedly deployed tactical nuclear weapons to its western border. Russia allegedly gave NATO a 24-hour ultimatum. Remove the long-range Storm Shadow Scalp cruise missiles from the NATO base in Poland because those missiles are being smuggled into Ukraine and fired at Russia, killing civilians. It's not known if the forward deployment of tactical nuclear weapons is part of the ultimatum, but it's not hard for even the most ignorant to see the likely connection. If the Russians take out the NATO logistics hub in Breslau, Poland, it's pretty much guaranteed that Poland will ask to invoke Article 5, collective self-defense in the NATO treaty. Whether Article 5 actually gets invoked is a gigantic question, especially given that the Europeans have done little to nothing for years to bolster their military readiness, which means that the USA would likely be the ones doing the fighting if they respond. The relationship between NATO and President Trump isn't good, and whether the US would even bother to engage against Russia is another gigantic question. Yes, it is. I don't know that Trump would, because he's been very upset with NATO not helping out with Iran, which they had no obligation to do, by the way. Nothing in the NATO treaty requires them to join us in wars other than on the European continent. So anyway, be that as it may, it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. Very interesting indeed. And yes, Belarus has called for an unscheduled surprise combat readiness inspection, which is another thing Hal put up here. And there's several sources right here reporting the same thing. So here we go. This was unscheduled. Belarus has announced an unplanned nationwide military readiness inspection, adding another element of uncertainty to the increasingly tense military situation along Ukraine's northern approaches and NATO's eastern flank. The public should not think that something extraordinary is about to happen, according to the Belarusian Security Council. Secretary Alexander Volfich said, "The readiness inspection comes as Russia continues a large-scale concentration of military forces in the Bryansk region near Ukraine's northern border, fueling speculation that Moscow could be considering reopening a northern front toward Chernihiv. Another possibility being discussed is that Russia is preparing forces for a new confrontation in Eastern Europe designed to test NATO's unity. At this stage, the concentration of forces and Belarusian readiness measures do not by themselves reveal Moscow's ultimate intention. However, if Russia is seeking to test NATO rather than immediately reopen the northern Ukrainian front, the objective could be to probe the alliance for political weakness, undermine its cohesion, and ultimately increase pressure on Western governments to make concessions over Ukraine." And there you go. But it is crazy how everything is just all the tensions on that front are ratcheting up quite a bit over the last 2 days that we've been covering for the last 2 days. So wars, rumors of wars continue. I think it's getting a lot closer to the actual wars than just rumors anymore. But I will keep my eyes on things as always. Time is short, you guys. Seek Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior while you still can. God bless. Take care. Johnny Storm. Don't speak news.